I've never liked waking up. Not that I don't enjoy the thrills and perils of life, I just live a much more exciting existence in my dreams. It's kind of sick, but I'm someone who gets bored and likes the darker intricacies of life. It wasn't until middle school discussing dreams with my peers that I realized my dreams are different from everyone else's. Kids would talk about dreaming of their favorite TV shows or about a magical land where candy grew from the ground and rained from the heavens. If only I could be so lucky. For my whole life, the entire 22 years, my dreams start with me waking up in a stranger's bed. I have their memories, I know their deepest secrets, and their strongest desires. It's never the same experience. Sure, sometimes there are similarities, but I've never woken up as the same person more than once. It's always a new face with new lines and marks and shapes. In every dream, for as long as I can remember, I live someone's last day for them. The death is usually an accident or sickness of some kind. The murders never fail to throw off my day. I've died experiencing mass shootings, acts of terrorism, and gruesome, painful torture. The ones that stick with me the most, though, are the suicides. Feeling the things that these people feel, I couldn't describe. The utter disgust with life or with themselves. The feeling of hopelessness and gut-wrenching dread of having to carry on living in this selfish fight or die reality. I couldn't tell you about the afterlife. Though. Only the fear or the calm or the relief of death. My parents thought I was overly imaginative and took me to several facilities and friendly doctors, but nothing ever helped, and I later lied and told them that the dreams stopped. Even my twin brother thought I was lying for attention our whole lives, so I let him believe the dreams had stopped too. That was always hard to have my own family not believe me, but I've never went into depth about it because there was always a nagging feeling that I wasn't supposed to talk about it or intervene after the event. There was one time I looked up the name of the mother, who died not telling her kids the major family secret of who their father was, and every effort to contact them wound up with a message not sent error, or a dial tone. Last night's dream was a first. I woke up in a familiar room for once. I thought I had slept through the night without having to mentally cleanse myself in the morning meditation. The walls were that familiar Easter yellow color, the windows shone a familiar light across the ceiling from the streetlight below. I realized it was still night not more than an hour after falling asleep watching some YouTube videos or another. But my laptop was gone, and a blanket different than the one I've had since childhood. The unfamiliar long hair that swept across my face is what stuck the realization that it was in fact another day in the life and death of a stranger. That's when it hit. A feeling of misery and hate that I could only imagine an evil dictator ever having felt before. I got up from the bed to see that this room was identical to mine except for the posters of bands I'd never heard of and laundry strewn about the floor. This person lives in the same dorm as me. I walked to the mirror attached to the closet door located across from the bed, and looking in it, the feeling of unbearable pain struck again, only harder this time. This person, although not ugly in the slightest, had the strongest hatred for their body. Her hair was straight brown and swept across her pale face. I brushed the hair from my face, and the image reflected was enough to send me back into the bed frame, which struck my tailbone with enough force to send me tumbling into the pile of dirty laundry. It was my twin brother's girlfriend, the one he planned on proposing to at our graduation, the one who had pulled him out of addiction and into classes at this very campus. My heart sank and the sobbing convulsions took over. The mixture of her depression combined with the reality of the situation hit like a boulder rolling off a cliff. I reviewed her memories, looking for the root of this evil inside of her, but there was no clear start. Then I saw the plan like a file in the cabinet of the back of her mind. A gun in her trunk stolen from her father's ranch. The route to a secluded location in the middle of the forest about 10 miles from campus. This couldn't happen. There must be some kind of mistake. I've never been someone that I know. It was always someone I've never seen in a place I've never been. Though many times I've tried, I could never change fate, no matter what I would do as that person. Their thoughts and emotions and physical situations would always lead me to death's door. Not this time. I went to the medicine cabinet looking for some kind of sleep medicine. The closest match was a packet of Benadryl. I took the remaining 4 pills before the thought of running to the car and taking Dad's rifle from under the mat where the spare tire is located. I forced myself into the closet, tipping the dresser across the tiny room just before shutting the door, barricading myself inside. Against my will, her body fought against the door, trying to open it, and screamed against it. Luckily for me, the dorm was always alive with some loud party or another. After about 20 minutes, she tired out and slumped to the floor in exasperation, crying hysterically. After another hour of crying into dry heaves, I felt her eyelids get heavy, and then the music from the stream of sleep meditation music filled my head and I woke up to the familiar blue glow of my laptop, creating a puke green hue against the yellow walls. And then a message sound resounded from the open Facebook tab. A nameless, faceless profile sent one phrase: "Your actions have consequences." I've been laying awake since 4:30 this morning, thinking of what to do. I'm already late to class, so I'll just skip the day. I graduate in 3 days anyway. I want to go to her room just a floor and a few doors down from my own room, and take her to the hospital. I don't know what I'll tell my brother. He's never believed my dreams were anything more than dreams. I could only imagine what consequences there could be, or who the hell messaged me. I'll post an update tonight. Any suggestions on what to do would help tremendously. Guys, I fucked up. I went up to her room, but the door was locked. Right? Why would it be that easy? Our dorms have magnetic key cards like a hotel. The RA had a master key, but I don't know the kid that well, so it was just luck that he came back to his room on his lunch break. Trouble is, males aren't allowed past a certain floor, so getting into her room was going to need a backup story. Then it hit me that everyone knows my brother. He's still a little skinnier than me from this time, avoiding me on the streets to do heroin. Luckily, I had a big hoodie which hides my slightly larger body. The RA, we'll call him Matt, fake names for obvious reasons, got back to his room around 11:45, and I explained to him how my girlfriend was in class and needed me to grab her notes. Of course he had to escort me. He opened the door to see the mess, so I told him she was running late, hence the forgotten notebook. He let it slide with a look of smudged judgment. I grabbed the notebook from the pile next to the tip dresser, and on the way out, I feigned a trip at the doorway long enough to stop the locking mechanism with some barber's business card from my wallet. He walked me back down to the first floor and went on his merry way after scolding me about keeping myself and my girl more responsible because he'd hate to see us spiral out of control. Douche. It's just a fucking notebook. Anyway, once he was out of sight, I headed back up to her room and slid the door open. I moved the dresser from in front of the closet and expected to feel it push back at me right away. Instead, I opened it to find her in a fetal position, still asleep. 4 allergy pills must have been enough to knock her out. Or maybe she hadn't slept yet at the time this happened last night. Either way, the steady rise and fall of her torso put my stomach at ease. I shook her arm, repeating, "Casey." She started to come to, and the more she woke up, the more lightheaded I felt. Then, like a switch had flipped, I went from staring into her eyes to staring into my own as my body fell onto the all-too-comfy pile of laundry. From behind Casey's eyes, I saw my body laying there, looking as limp as a pile of laundry under it. The only inclination of life was the occasional twitch of the eye and shallow breathing. As serious as the situation as it was, I couldn't help but notice how weird I looked from an outsider's perspective. I've seen my face in pictures, but looking at it live in person, it looked wrong and backwards. It looked like my brother from this point of view. I set my body up as neatly as Casey's thin arms would let me. That's when I noticed I hadn't felt her dread. I hadn't felt her at all. Casey's phone buzzed with a text from a random yet ominous series of numbers. 646-368-66674. 666. How original. It read, "Finish the job or I will. I won't be as kind about it. 48 hours. As soon as those words registered in my mind, another text followed. "Hey babe, call me when you can. Laura said you weren't in class today." I looked at the time. 12:07 p.m. No, this has to be a fluke. I decided to call my brother and make sure he wasn't suspicious enough for a random pop-in. How awkward would it be to face him as his girlfriend? Ugh. I don't even want to think about it. Here's about how the conversation went. Hey Justin, sorry I didn't call you. I've been asleep. Not a lie. I'm not feeling very well. Also true. I think I'm gonna take the rest of the week off and hopefully be good for graduation. Oh, are you feeling sick? You have been acting off lately. You don't even sound the same. No kidding. Do you want me to bring you some soup and cuddles? Ew, no thank you, brother. No, that's okay. I don't want you to get sick. I'm just going to try and rest for the day and wait it out. Alright, well if you need anything, I'm here. Anything at all. You sure I can't bring you anything? After that, it was about 5 minutes of reassuring and making sure he didn't feel the need to check in, and ended with an awkward exchange of the "I love you more" fight I've seen them have 1,000 times. With that settled, I started looking through Casey's phone to find clues as to how long she's been struggling. There were no worry signs, no red flags. She was happy and motivated enough to take my piece of shit brother and turn him into a functioning member of society, going to school to be a social worker. Now I'm sitting here at a crossroads, writing this on my phone from Casey's hands. I've been doing some research, but the internet isn't being very helpful at this point, and Casey has to pee, which is going to be awkward in itself. Your comments from earlier today have both helped and annoyed me. There are so many options, but I can't seem to keep my mind straight to focus on a solution and to carry out. This happens when thinking from not only someone else's perspective, but their physical brain. The wiring is all different and thoughts don't flow with the same ease. I'll keep you updated as things happen. I'm just scared for her life and who this mystery person is and why I've been chosen for this life. I understand the need for Reapers, to feel the pain so others don't have to, but why would it be someone I know? Why did it have to be someone? Why did it have to be someone who was a staple in my brother's sobriety? And what am I supposed to do? Memento Mori. I figured it out when I saw my old flip phone and a photo on Facebook from back in middle school. I was looking back on mine and Justin's lives when it occurred to me to see if that number would translate to anything in text. It was hard at first because nothing I put in made sense, but after a while I got Moment Miri, with autocorrect being the bitch she is. I can't complain too much though because the Google search led me back to Memento Mori. Remember, everyone must die. It had been a couple hours of research and the stress was hitting Casey's brain much faster and harder than I was used to. Then a flutter of panic ran across my chest and my heart started thumping like I had just run a 5K. Out of nowhere, I wanted to cry and scream and run, but there was nowhere to run or any immediate reason for me to. Yup, there it goes. The floodgates have opened and the citizens of Tit Valley won't have time to put up their little sandbags, so there goes another cute bra to mascara stains. She's back. The tears from her eyes didn't match the sigh of relief coming from my own consciousness, so it made for an awkward grunting bark sound that reverberated off the walls of her tiny dorm room and managed to confuse her long enough to stop the tears from flowing. I tried to speak using her mouth, but the words wouldn't come out. Her head turned against my will, which was the signal that told me she was back in control. She turned her head to see my slumped body, and I felt a little bit of pee leak out when she bounced back and screamed, "Justin? What the fuck?" She looked down at my hands, noticing that Justin's distinguished mole wasn't there. "Wait, Nick?" she said as she shook my shoulder. "Nick, get up. What the hell are you doing here?" A spark of light like I've never seen flashed and sent my entire being into a state of shock and confusion. Huh? I felt my face crunch into a confused grimace as I opened my eyes to see Casey hunched over me. Her hair in the same sloppy ponytail I'd put it in to keep it from distracting my research. "You're awake," I announced, bouncing to my knees and hugging her so hard she probably couldn't move or breathe for that matter. "I'm awake. We're both awake at the same time." She promptly wiggled loose and pushed me off of her. "Nick, what the hell are you going on about? Why are you in my room?" She looked around to see the light of mid-afternoon peeking through the bamboo blinds on her window. "And what time is it?" "You have my phone, so I don't know the exact time, but you've been asleep for a while." She looked down at her hands to see my phone in one of them. "Wait, why?" "Long story." I cut her off. "We need to talk about how you've been feeling." She looked down and furrowed her brows with tears still running down her reddening cheeks. It only took me a second to realize that it wasn't a look of shame, but one of recollection and confusion. "I don't understand. What do you mean?" "I feel confused and a little scared, but that's because I just woke up to my brother's boyfriend passed out in my completely destroyed room. I'm probably late to class and we graduate in 3 days. 2 days. I corrected her, earning myself a slight sneer. But that's not important. You're going to want to sit down for this. Pacing in front of her, I explained it all to her. Every detail. How I knew that she was depressed, that I found out what she was going to do, and that I had been in and out of her body for the past day. I told her that I don't know what is going on with me, or why I've been cursed to live the deaths of others, or how only the world... I told her I don't know what is going on with me, or why I've been cursed to live the deaths of others, and how the only word that came to mind to explain it was Reaper. Throughout this whole conversation, she was silent. She didn't look skeptical or uneasy, she was just listening. She didn't speak up until I was done. Huh, that makes a lot of sense. What? How does someone hear all this crazy shit and just think, oh, alright, whatever? She must either be really open-minded or absolutely fucking bonkers. Nick, I haven't been honest with you or your brother. I am not who you think I am. This body isn't mine. Your suspicions are true in a way. I'm like you. However, I've always liked the term Angel of Death. Phew, it feels good to drop that facade. I was speechless with my mouth agape. How did I turn out to be the one to get the shock of a lifetime? Wait, what? You're Casey, right? And if you're Casey, then whose body is this? Casey is the name given to this body at the time of its birth. I've been living as Casey since she was 16. My original body has long past decayed into dust. Unlike you, my entire existence is experiencing the death of others. You're a new soul, a baby if you will. When Casey decided to take her own life in sophomore year of high school, I decided that I was going to take it instead. I do it every so often just to taste what life has to offer before continuing on with years of death after death after death. I tried to maintain my composure and to understand all this new information. Alright, if all of this is true, why did I end up as Casey, and who are you really? Nice to meet you, my name is Agnes, she said, extending her arm for a handshake. I hesitantly obliged. I've got a bit of a reputation for breaking the rules, so the big man downstairs sent me a nice little present in the form of Depression Curse to try and rein me in. You must have picked up on the energy and come to replace me in Casey's body. They wanted you to kill this body off so I'd be forced to move on, but I escaped and came back. You're welcome, by the way. You would have been trapped in this bitch until its death, and your original body would have died along with it. Downstairs? I thought you said you were an angel. My voice cracked against my will. Damn it, I've experienced countless deaths every night for as long as I can remember, and this one conversation was shaking me up. Angel. Fallen angel. Demon. Same difference. She stared through me with a completely new demeanor and must have picked up on how I was feeling. Oh, don't give me that look. You're a demon too, big guy. You just got lucky with your trade skills is all. Unlike your brother. Poor guy's doomed to feed off of depression and addiction for the rest of eternity, so I thought I'd give him a nice lifetime of happiness before he takes the big plunge down below. This was all too much to take in. I went from having strange dreams to being a demon. My brother is a demon too? Demons are born? I thought they'd just always been around if I ever even believed in them to begin with. Does that mean our parents were demons too? She spoke up again before I could process another thought. Sorry to rope you up in this, kid, but you're part of it now, so buckle up. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. It won't be long until they send us another little gift. We're stronger in threes, so let's go pay your brother a visit, shall we? She turned and stepped out into the hallway, not even checking to see if I had followed. I snapped back to reality and chased after her. Matt, the friendly RA, saw us exit the female stairwell together and looked like he was coming to lecture us, but Casey pushed him out of the way, knocking him on his ass with a quick "fuck off" as she sped down the next stairwell towards the lobby of our building. I think I like Casey, or Agnes, rather, although she does kinda scare the shit out of me. It's hard to write everything in a way that's easy to follow, but for time's sake, I'll have to keep posting in chunks of the past. In a future post, I'll try and catch you up so it's live as it's happening to me. I started this looking for advice, but now I just want to have a record of everything that's happening in case I die and move on from this body so my story won't be lost. As of now, it is a couple days later, and spoiler alert, I'm still alive. Also missing graduation, which is cool. Not like I haven't been busting my ass off for the past 4 years not to walk at graduation. Anyway, I'll post more later. Thank you for the support and suggestions, but this whole event has taken a turn I didn't see coming, and right now we're bouncing around and mooching off of a coffee shop Wi-Fi. so please be patient with me. It's been almost a week since all of this started. If I didn't know the things I know now, I would say that my life has been ruined. It's true that my old life is over. My dreams of being a world-famous architect have died. Memento mori, right? A term I have never heard of before but now governs my life. To speed things up to where they are currently, I'm going to gloss over some of the details. Casey, who I will here on out be referring to as Agnes, and I left our dorm to find Justin. He likes to prioritize his time to focus on school. Agnes, finding my brother on the streets, befriending him and encouraging him to go to school, turned his life around. She was there while he was going through withdrawals, which is a hard sight to see if you're not a 500-year-old demon. I've got to say, for creature of hell, she has an odd saint vibe about her. She's compassionate, generous, and at times downright motherly. That's a comforting feeling after our parents perished in a drunk driving incident during my freshman year of college. Dad was always a drinker, and Mom was always too timid to speak up against him, so it wasn't a surprise when the news came. But that didn't take away from the pain. For the first time since childhood, I felt close to my identical counterpart again, thanks to her. After checking his usual spot at the library turned up empty, I called Justin to meet us at my car in the east parking lot. He was confused to see me and Casey together and why she was up and around as she was so sick. The following conversation that took place in the car was one of the hardest I'd ever have to have. The word crazy was thrown out, which I'm all too familiar with, but when I provided him with an awkward details of his and Casey's relationship that only she would know, he came around. Turns out trading bodies is a great way of getting to know someone. Usually memories of the people I ease through the process of death fade with time and new experiences. I found that Casey's life, maybe because of the closeness to our family, has stuck with me. Agnes says the longer time you spend in someone's body, the longer you retain their memories and even some of their personality traits. That night we found a cheap hotel room a few towns over. Agnes, being the wizened old soul that she is, has picked up on ways to make money fast. These methods aren't conventional or moral, but she says she can provide for us for as long as we need. Unfortunately, Justin and I are now fugitives of hell. Badass, right? Wrong. There are many more demons among us than they would care for a public to know. They're in the police force, the government, the military. They are everywhere. This means that not only is there a fleet of demons after the three of us, we are now on the most wanted list in this dimension. Civilians think we're just con artists committing mass fraud. It's not wrong in Agnes's case. She spent more time on Earth living out human lives than she is actually fulfilling her demonic duties. Now we're accomplices who have no choice but to run, and the only way out of it is to face the Great Council, which according to Agnes is bad news bears. Those who avoid their duties for personal gain are punished for the amount of time robbed, which wouldn't be so bad if time didn't pass incredibly slow in hell. One day in hell can last months or even years. You lose yourself there. Everything you know and love dissipates, and before you know it, you're reduced to an energy of pain, humiliation, and fear. Agnes has been teaching me how to control the lives of those that I take in my sleep, although she warns me not to act too differently than the bodies of those I snatch. It would lead to suspicion and ultimately our whereabouts. She's been teaching us magic too. We've been using words and protection spells which are rock solid with the three of us. Turns out the magical school of witchcraft and wizardry exists in a not too distant dimension. My nights consist of new hotels where I visit a new soul where I can get some escape before their demise. My favorite so far was an older woman who passed in her sleep, but the peaceful hours with the 4 cats and tea allowed me some time of peace alone. Since we are forced to ditch all technology, I can only write when I take someone's body. I'm currently writing from the hands of a teenage boy who died skinny dipping in the ocean. Not looking forward to that. Drowning sucks. I don't expect this peace time to last. It's only a matter of time before we're caught. We had a close call last night when we were out at the local grocery store a few states over. Everything was running as normally as this new life would allow before Agnes signaled us back with the whistle we ripped from the Hunger Games. She sensed one of the patrons in the store wasn't entirely human. Thankfully, our wards were enough to keep hidden long enough to make a run. Since we were already fugitives, I didn't bother dropping a pack of ramen and bag of Takis I had picked out. Not the healthiest, but who would be concerned with a diet at a time like this? We're back in the hotel though. I assume things are fine, seeing as to how I haven't been ripped from the body of this kid and forced into an epic demonic battle yet. I'll update soon. Hopefully things don't get too much more exciting for my sake.